All right, well, I was say good morning. I've been recording videos all day. Welcome to freshman level course, which is called Application Academy. Tonight we are doing week one. This is a 4-week course with the objective to get you ready to submit your application by the end of this month. We're going to do orientation, which I'm going to show you where you can find everything. And then we're going to get right into meeting and learning. And so if you have piece of paper and pen, that would be great. Take notes. The replay is going to be in the classroom. And then throughout the week, will be putting like little snippets of videos inside the classroom. Like if you forgot something that we went over and you want to go directly to it, instead of watching the whole entire replay, that's going to be there too. So for right now, everything that we're doing, I'm testing this out, which is why I'm saying for right now, everything that we're doing is inside of the school app. And actually, first, let me back up because I can't assume everybody here knows me and knows my history. And so, just let me introduce myself really quick. You guys, everybody know that my name is Maria because you guys joined and my name was everywhere. But I'm a wife, mom of 4 kids, two of which are adults and are moved out. And so I just have my younger two here. And I am a coach for PNCC. I've been in PNCC world for about 15 years. I started off as a client. I was pregnant with my daughter. Once I had her, I actually started working for the company that was helping me through my pregnancy. I started working for them as a care coordinator. My friend decided a couple of years later that she wanted to open her own, so I went over with her, was her care coordinator. Then I became program manager and was running her business until I decided that I wanted to have my own, and she actually was closing hers. And so in 2015, I opened my own PNCC agency, and about, I want to say maybe 2018, somewhere around there, I actually started coaching women on how to open their own. So I've been in this world and coaching for quite some time. So that's just a little bit about me. Yeah, so this is the school app. I ask everybody if you're in a class, if you can try your best to be active inside of the school app, because the more people that are active, the more people see it. And so, yeah, I'm growing this platform. It's just a little bit slower than Facebook because it's not as organic as Facebook is. So I'm trying to merge everybody into the school app. So whenever I say post on the school app or accountability, anything like that, it is talking about this platform right here. You can post on here. And yeah. I also do want to mention one thing. I didn't put this in any of the welcome letters. I should have. There's no pressure for tonight, but when I typically teach, if you can have your camera on, only because one, that helps me feel like I'm not talking to myself. And then number two, it also is part of accountability because it's going to be a lot of meat that's going to be taught here for you guys. And it's easy when you're on virtually to be distracted and do something else. So it's easy to have your camera off and be in the kitchen cooking or, on Facebook or text messages or anything like that. It's easy to do that when the camera is off. So no pressure for this week because I did say, and I don't know if people be in their bonnets and whatnot, people like, I don't want to get on or driving. No pressure if you're driving, but in the future, if you can be on video, that would be great. Oh, they added a go live. So I'm going to go over to now the classroom. And Tiffany, you didn't miss much. I just did an introduction and we're going like doing an orientation right now. So depending on what class you are enrolled in, you'll either have access to it or you'll see a lock. So like if you guys are in freshman level, more than likely you have a lock on sophomore all the way up to senior level and then the monthly membership. You should have access to do you qualify? and the free mini course, or any other courses that are on here. You might have access or you might not, but you'll know if you have access if you see a lock or not. So this is where the classes are. We'll come back to that in just a second. I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with this because this is where you found the link. But depending on what class you're in, you'll see the calendar, and all your classes that you have access to will be on the calendar. And you just click it, and the link, is there. You can also have the option to add it to any one of your calendars to help with accountability. And then you'll see the time zone for you. So if you guys don't know, I believe most people know that I actually live in Georgia. So my time zone is Eastern, but whenever I give you guys a time, I always do my time in Central. So if I say we meeting at 7, just know that that's Central. I never give a Eastern time when I teach this. Let's see. So back to the classroom, going to freshman level. I won't put anything in here unless we did it or it's coming up. So things that I'm going to be teaching you week 3, you won't see it until it's close to week 3. So for right now, you guys see the welcome letter. You see that it says download the 30-day roadmap. You won't see that actually in here until after class because I don't like to put things that might distract you. And every week it's a focus on something. And so I don't want to give you too much and then you're focusing on something that might overwhelm you when that's for next week. So don't even worry about that. This is for this week. This is what the focus on. So, and this is a resource. You'll see week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4 as we go along. Replays will be in the different weeks. Resources will be here. Videos, everything, like I said, will be in here. So, all right. Well, if you guys have any questions, feel free to unmute, ask your question, raise your hand if you want to raise your hand, put it in the chat. However you want to do it, just make sure, please ask your question. There are no dumb questions because I want to make sure that you completely understand this process. And that because I'm not actually submitting the application for you, I'm teaching you how to do it. I don't want you to miss something and then you submit it and you forgot something because you never asked the question or you didn't understand something because you didn't ask the question. So please always ask a question if you have a question. So we are going to go ahead. That was the quick orientation. We're going to go ahead and get started. So fun fact about this class, this is now a 30-day class, but it started off being a 1-day workshop where we were literally meeting for like 5 hours. Then it became a 2-hour or a 2-day workshop with 30 days accountability. And I just found myself reteaching. So from there, now this is a 30-day class. Let's see how I can make this full screen. Mm-mm-mm. All right, can you guys see my screen? Is it good? Is it too small? Do I need to make it? Okay, don't do that.
A little, well, a little bigger maybe. If I don't think it's gonna go down. It keeps saying pinch the screen.
Are you on your phone?
Yeah, I couldn't get it on my laptop.
Yeah, so it's gonna be small on the phone. On a computer, it's bigger, but yeah, there's no way to make it bigger for a phone.
Okay.
All right, actually, this is the wrong one. 1 second, guys. 1 second. Okay, there we go. That was the wrong one. All right, so today I am going to walk you guys through what is PNCC, and why you have to be approved and like what that looks like. What do you do with PNCC? All that good information. I'm not going to teach too much on that, only because I think I'm gonna do more teaching throughout versus everything in the beginning, just because I don't, again, don't want to overwhelm with so much information. Are you guys familiar with PNCC?
I mean, just from hearing about it from you.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I have heard about it within the community, yes.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay. Well, that's actually a good thing, because you're not, the different rumors and myths that's going around, that's totally incorrect. Don't, it's not, you're not gonna fall for it. So, okay. We're going to talk about choosing your business name, your business location, setting up all the important details of your business, getting your EIN, and we're going to end on your resume. And so, if I know some of you are childcare owners, I apologize if some of this is redundant when it comes to starting your business, because you already know how to do your LLC, EIN, and things like that. But there are people who don't know that. So I just make sure I go over everything, not assuming where people are. So, really quickly, I want to go and show you guys how to find information about prenatal care coordination. And I write things down as I talk because I remember stuff and I want to make sure that when we get off, I actually do it. Otherwise, I'll forget. So yeah, you guys will have access to the website in school. I used to send my slides. I don't send my slides anymore, because too many people copy paste and try to teach like me, even though they're not me. So you will get this actual link, and again, the replay inside of school. So why is it skipping? Okay, here we go. So I just clicked the link, and in just a second, it's going to share.
I'm like, now I am familiar with the Forward Health website.
Okay. All right, can you guys see my Forward Health screen?
Yeah.
You said yes?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, so where do you go to find the information for prenatal care coordination, PNCC? So the first thing, you go to the website, then you go to online handbooks, which is down here under policy. You have to accept, definitely read it if you want to read it, but you have to accept to get into the website. You're going to choose a program. PNCC is under Medicaid. So you want to click Medicaid. You want to then scroll down all the way to prenatal care coordination. This is where all your information is. So the homework that I'm gonna have for you guys is, I want you to get familiar with this handbook. And I got air quotes because it's not something that you just easily print off. I want you to go and just like read and look at, and this is not homework for next week. This is throughout the month because it's so much information. But you want to start getting familiar with this process or what this looks like. And so I want you to start at the PNCC requirements all the way to reimbursement. I want you to look at those five. So stop at look at reimbursement, but don't go any further. So when you go to each tab, like you'll look at it says key prenatal care coordination requirements. If you hit the plus sign, you'll see it gives you more tabs. And then you're going to hit that plus sign, like this is the overview. Do all topics. This is going to give you the overview and best practices of PNCC. Like, and I'm going to teach on this stuff, but like these are the five pillars of PNCC. This is what we do. This is where the questionnaire is. Here's best practices from the state. This breaks down what is outreach, what is assessment, all these different things. And I'm teaching it, but I'm also showing you where you can find this information because one thing about me, I try to always stay up to date with what they put in here, but I want you to know it too. I don't want you to just take my word for it. And then when you actually end up speaking to an auditor during your application process, you'd be like, well, my coach taught me or my coach told me. I don't want you to ever use that language. I want you to be able to say inside the handbook, it says this. According to state legislation, it says this. Never use somebody else. Okay. And I say that because I've actually had some of my students do that where I was told, no, that's not what you do because you just devalue yourself as the owner, as if you didn't know and you didn't go look on your own. And so one of the classes I'm at towards the end, I'm actually going to also show you how to look at state legislation because that's important for you guys to know too, because the state legislation is why we do what we do according to the law. So this is the non-sexy part about PNCC, but just like with childcare, you want to know all the rules and regulations so you don't mess up. So a lot of people who end up closing their business down or got caught up in whatever, it's because they didn't really know the state legislation. And so, yeah, so I want you to play around, not play around, read this. You can print it out, but you'll have to like copy paste it onto like a Word document to print. There's no print button straight from here. So here, right here, you see DHS 107.34, et cetera, et cetera. If you click that, this is where state legislation is. And it tells you a little bit more about PNCC. And so this is not a requirement for right now, but when we do that class, I'm gonna really dig deep into this information. Another thing that I want you guys to know, and this is under overview, all topics, if you scroll all the way down, it says additional PNCC information and resources are available. If you click that, it has more information about PNCC. And so these are some of the forward health updates from the last 5 years. Um, you can see these are actually 2023 is when they made some of the major changes. And then this is 2022. So just if you ever want to go look at any of the updates and the different changes that they made over the years, they do have some training. I took the training. It's still just stick with the course that I got because it's just still basic. Like they're reading the handbook and you still left with questions. Like it's still not clear. They did their best. They did their best. You'll see down here, here's some of the forms that we use. We'll touch this a little bit later, not today, but you'll see that with the forms that they give you, only one is required. The rest are recommended. Only one is required, and that's the questionnaire. And again, we'll touch on this a little bit later, but I don't teach about this until the sophomore level because it's just going to overwhelm you. This is the questionnaire. This is the only thing that's required. Every single client that you enroll has to have one of these on file. This is the only thing that's required. Everything else is recommended. And by recommended is meaning use this form or make your own that's similar to this form. but they still want that information. They're just saying, however you go about getting this information, that's up to you. So, going back to this, I want you guys to go through and just throughout this month, read everything you can about PNCC and you'll be learning. So, like some of the stuff that I say, it won't be as foreign to you because you probably, you read it. So, let's hop back into the slideshow. We're going to talk about owner certification requirements. This is new as of 2023. Before 2023, anybody could open up a PNCC agency. It did not matter what your background was. Anybody could open. 2023, after a lot of different things happened in the program, they became a little bit more strict, and now there are requirements for even to be an owner, there are requirements. And so we're going to talk about that in just a second, but just definitions. A owner is a person who controls the organization, and I'll talk about that in the next slide because there can be several different types of owners. A qualified professional is a staff with required credentials. And then care coordination staff is the people who do ongoing care coordination, which again, I'll talk to you about all these different things. So, who is an owner? Like I said, there are several different types of owners, and anybody that is considered a owner, which you guys will be owners, anybody considered an owner has to have maternal health through or experience in maternal health through education or at least 1 year of work experience. And I'm gonna show you or tell you what that means in just a second. So anybody that has 5% interest or more in your business, they will consider an owner. So whether that's indirect ownership, direct ownership, corporate officers, it just all depends on how you set up your LLC, who you put on there. If they own 5% or more, they're considered an owner and they have to meet this new requirement. Again, that's experience in maternal health through education or at least 1 year of work experience. And so I want to share with you guys, what does that mean? Are you guys childcare owners?
Yes.
Yes. I think Tiffany, I saw that. You're a childcare owner too, right? Yeah.
Yes. Tiffany has a group and I have family.
Family. Okay. Let me share this screen because this is one of the resources I just put in there for you guys. Because towards the end, we're going to go over resume, but I want to touch on this right now, real quick. Where's my screen? Oh, here we go. So inside of the school app under resources, you'll see it says maternal health and prenatal care experience. And that's a PDF. Can y'all see that? Okay. And so this is just a form that I created to help jog your memory and or look at all the different experience that you have over the years, training, certifications. And so it's funny, like after I talk to people about what they've done, like different things start coming to memory, like, oh yeah, I did this, I did this, I did this. So when we go over the resume and that's part of your homework, like really digging deep into what you've done over the years that could fit into this. Because most people with childcare businesses have a lot of experience, they just don't know that it's there. And so, for the on the professional experience side, for sure, if you have a degree, that is amazing. That's definitely something you want to put on the resume. But if you have infant and toddler care expertise, so everybody, I'm assuming y'all I think y'all know I don't have a child care. It is one of my dreams to own a group because I did family for a hot second and I was like, that's not for me. I'm an owner. I am not a worker. I did not want to be stuck in my house. So eventually, one day in the future, I'll have one. But I know that there's certain classes that you have to take, and one of them being infant and toddler care. So making sure that that's on your resume. Any prenatal or postpartum support services. So thinking about, again, things that you've done, if you've taken different classes, if you've done programs with the moms, and let's say you did a program with a mom and some of them happen to be pregnant. Right now, that's prenatal work, or that's prenatal support services because she was pregnant and you was, did whatever. So really thinking about that. Any workshops that you might have done, any collaborations with nurses, doulas, with counselors, anything like that. Now get into some of the, for sure, almost everybody has type of trainings. CPR and first aid for infants. Might not have mothers, but maybe you do. Safe sleep training, SIS awareness, like all these different things as they come to your mind, you want it on your resume. You do not want to leave anything to chance. I actually have a lady that I'm working with right now. She is a qualified professional on her own, which we'll get into that. She has a lot of these different things, but guess what? When she applied on her own, none of this was on her resume. So she was denied. When she came to me and I was helping her and we like pulled out all the different things, she didn't even need to hire anybody because she had everything that they were looking for. But because she didn't put it on her resume, they didn't know. So they don't go and dig. They just say yes or no, and then they keep moving. So you want to make sure that everything is outlined in your resume. Um, So let's see, child development, like this, if I think that's a credential, I don't know if that's a class or whatever, but infant toddler focus, breastfeeding support training, perinatal health or postpartum doula training, early childhood development. Some people have that as a degree or they took different courses. I know I even took a course as a PNCC owner at UWM. They have that extension program where sometimes they do workshops. And so I took one of their workshops and it was about childcare development. I will make sure that that's on there. Maternal infant mental health certificate, like anything that again falls along the line of mothers, pregnant moms, babies, toddlers. Okay. Thinking about your hands-on experience. Now, again, this is actually inside of the school app. So even though I'm talking fast, you guys have this copy. So hands-on experience, if you did offering childcare for pregnant and postpartum mothers, if you support high-risk families, that is a key word right there. Those are key words right there. Making sure, and I want y'all to write that down, making sure on your resume that you have supporting high-risk families, like high-risk moms, something like high risk needs to be in there that you provided some type of support because that's what we do. And so just like when you go and apply for a job and you submit a resume and they look for keywords, they're going to be looking for keywords. High risk families, high risk moms, high risk women, like all of those are keywords that they're going to be looking for. Infant caregiver experience. If you have infant and toddler room, boom, there go caregiver experience, right? Whether you the owner and you in there or not, at some point you was. You started off in the infant, you were there. Um, and you don't, I mean, you can have that, but that's not necessary, especially with you guys being childcare owners. If you don't feel like you have enough, there's so many online maternal health and perinatal case management courses. Find some and take it and add it to your resume, right? Partner with a doula, nurse, or social worker who you can make sure you add to your application, which we'll get into that in just a second. And so here's a example professional summary statement from somebody who's like a child care owner and some of the things, experience, and qualifications that they've had that would go on the resume. Steps to strengthen your application further. And we just kind of talked about this already. So that should really help with your resume, which we'll get to towards the end. But your resume And whoever you hire, if you're not a qualified professional, is a make or break of your application. That's like one of the highest things when people get denied is because of that. Either they didn't explain enough their qualifications or they didn't hire the right person. That's where people get messed up and denies. I actually had one of my students from a few years ago, and she was like, "You keep saying no to everybody I bring to you," because she paid me to do her application for her, and she was bringing people like, "Okay, what about her? What about her?" And I kept saying no, and I was like, "Do you want me to say yes and she don't fit?" I'm using my experience of what they're looking for to let you know if this person is going to work or not. So I can say yes if that's what you want me to, but or find the right person. So it's very important to have the right person as a part of your application. All right, let's go back to the slide. Any questions about that? No? Okay. So, and so Tiffany, are you familiar with PNCC? If you can't talk, you could just shake your head, yes or no. Yes. Okay, so Shivani, and I hope I said your name right. Did I say your name right? Okay, cool. I'm gonna go over PNCC, but I also yesterday made a video in the school app called "What is PNCC?" And so I dig a little deeper into what it is and what we do. I'm gonna go over it here, but I also have a video, two videos. What is PNCC and do I qualify to open? So I just made those videos yesterday because it's important to know if you about to open, it's important to know what it is you're going to be doing and what this program is. So, PNCC, of course, stands for Prenatal Care Coordination. We work with women who are pregnant. We work with them in this program up until they have the baby and that baby turns 60 days. Now, there is another program called CCC, but the way the state has it set up now, you can't open that until you're approved for PNCC. So I don't really touch it too much in the application class now, only because, okay, I see that. I don't touch it too much only because it's a whole separate program that if you don't apply for it, or it's just unnecessary information right now. This is enough. So for PNCC, working with pregnant women, the goal of this program is to have a healthy pregnancy. Okay, so we work with women who are high risk, and they're pregnant. It's prenatal. And they're deemed high risk based on their assessment. So there's five pillars of the PNCC program, which I showed you guys in the handbook. The first is outreach, and it's just like with childcare. Outreach, you have to go out and find your clients. If you don't have clients, you don't have a business. And so they don't pay you for outreach, just like you don't get paid for flyers and going to events and stuff like that to get people into your childcare, you don't get paid until they enroll. So the same thing with PNCC. So outreach, which I go over more on that and how to do it in the sophomore level. But for now, just know that you have to do outreach, whether that's vending opportunities, partnering with other companies, doing flyers, like whatever it is, that's outreach. Now, when you get somebody and they contact you, and the first thing you have to do is an assessment, which I showed you guys what that assessment is. Um, the assessment is going to tell you, yes, they qualify because they have enough risk factors, or no, they don't qualify, they don't have enough risk factors. Very rarely, very rarely have I ever come across somebody who came to me and wanted to do it that did not qualify. Um, and I'm gonna show you guys this real quick. I'm not gonna go too much over this, but I do want you guys to see this. So, like I said, this is the questionnaire, and this is going to tell you if they qualify or they don't qualify. Here, you'll see the little boxes. These are the questions that these are high risk. If you check this, that's a risk factor. So, I'm gonna go ahead and show you why majority of the time people that come to me And again, if y'all haven't watched that video, which probably not, 'cause I uploaded it late at night, it's super important. I would say go watch that video that I did about what is PNCC, because I talk about why it's important that PNCC is still around and what we do for the community and why the community need us, right? And so right off back, if the person, I haven't really gotten too much Hispanics, but that's because we already know that Milwaukee's very segregated. So I was never really on the South Side. So I didn't get too many Hispanics because I wasn't on the South Side. Now, some of my coaches or some of my contractors, if they were on the South Side, they had a lot of Hispanics. But right off back, if they check any of these outside of white doesn't apply, but any of these races, that's a risk factor. And for the most part, I always got African American women, right? So that's a risk factor. If they were single, risk factor. Most of my ladies were single. If they did not finish high school, risk factor. Another one, I didn't really get age too much. If they receive WIC, risk factor. If they had a high BMI, risk factor. That right there alone, whether they even, let's even say we didn't do education, because not everybody, I did have quite a bit of people, but that's not everybody's story. But all they need is four. So being black, single, receiving WIC, and high BMI, they qualify right off the bat. So that's why I said it's very rare when I had people. And again, all I needed was five. All I needed was four. Now there's still so many in here, but all you need is four and they qualify. So it's easy to qualify people. Is clearly basically what I'm saying. It's not hard to find clients in Milwaukee. Let's go back.
I want to ask a question. That's kind of not related to what you just said, but
Mhm.
um, I know you said you won't talk about it much, but like with the CCC, um, would that be like, would you be able to add clients that's, if you had somebody that was doing the prenatal before and the CCC goes up to the age of 7, like could you enroll people um that haven't used it before, that's not um of that age yet?
That's
I don't
a
know.
very great
I'm
question.
like, I don't know if you understand what I'm trying to say. I don't know if
No,
I'm
no,
saying it right,
I
but
definitely. It's basically if I have people in my childcare right now that has a baby, can I enroll them or a toddler, essentially?
yeah, yeah.
So the answer is kind of. It depends. So for one, number one, you gotta make sure you add CCC on. So you're not automatically in CCC until you apply and you're approved. It's not another fee. It's just a process, right? And then number two, they just not just they changed it. When I say 2023, they changed so many different things. A lot of things changed, and so before you could I don't even want to give you before, so I don't want to confuse you. Now, in order for somebody to be in CCC, they had to have been enrolled in the first 60 days of having that baby. So if they come to you and that baby is 3 months old, too old, they can't enroll. Now, if you have somebody in your childcare business or they come into your childcare and let's say the child is now 2, but they received CCC services before, they were already enrolled before, you can enroll them. But I always teach my students, do not enroll anybody if you do not have a concrete on file like paperwork with their assessment, because that assessment is necessary to show that they did receive services. So in order to get somebody that's after 60 days, they would have had to already have been in CCC. That makes sense?
So that's with anybody or just with you?
That's not my rule. That's the state rule.
No, I'm saying like any person, like if they was receiving those services, it would have to be with you or it could have been with someone
It
else
could have been
who
with any
offered.
company. It could have
Okay.
been, but here's the problem. Because and you guys are childcare owners, and you know that there are so many different childcare owners that some are professional, some are not. Some should not be childcare owners, some are great. Same thing with PNCC. Like, in order for you to get that mom, and let's say she come to your daycare and she has a 3-year-old and she's like, oh yeah, I did receive services. She needs to be able to go to that business and get her paperwork. So now the question is, do they still got it? Are they still open? Is the number still up to date? Will they give her a headache to say we're not going to give it to you, because some people don't know professional, like they didn't go and look at the handbook and they don't know the laws. The law is, this is HIPAA, this is medical, so any person that you enroll has the right to their paperwork. But if they don't know that, they're going to give her a hard time, like, I'm not giving it to you, because they don't know HIPAA. They didn't educate themselves. So it can be a headache to try to prove that this mom has been in CCC before, but it's vital that you have the physical, and not even virtual or anything on email, the physical copy of her assessment. If not the original, give me a copy. That's hard to do. So that's why it's like, yes, it's just a little more difficult. Yep. So that's why you're supposed to keep paperwork up to, I want to say, it say like 3 years, but really I would say 7, because if a mom comes to you and her child is 6, I need my paperwork from 6 years ago. Where is it? It's gone. So you just keep the paperwork as long as you can. Um, I was gonna say something else about that. I can't remember. Oh, another another thing too is most of the moms always end up pregnant again anyway. So typically they're in childbirthing age, right? Where they're in their 20s, or I didn't really get people in their 30s, but they were in their 20s, and most women in their 20s they're having babies. So if they have a newborn and then now that 2-year-old is in your childcare, at some point she would be pregnant again, because a lot of women have multiple kids. Even my kids, I have 4 kids. My first two are 2 years apart. My second pair, the two are 2 years apart. Now there's a huge gap in between of 8 years. So, but it depends on, people usually have kids 2 to 3 years apart, 1 to 3 years apart. So, so yes, initial assessment, you get paid for the assessment, um, whether they are not approved, whether they qualify or don't qualify. So let's say you got somebody that does not have 4 risk factors. You still get paid for doing that assessment, but you stop right there. You don't keep working with her. You just stop. You get paid for your time. If she do qualify, you go on and move to care plan development. Now, with the care plan development, you take everything that was a risk factor and you make a goal to help achieve that not being a risk factor. So, for example, if she has high BMI, let's see if we can either slow down your BMI becoming higher, or let's lower the BMI, right? How do we do that? So then in the care plan, we're going to say this is the risk factor. We plan to lower the BMI by her talking to a nutritionist and learning about carbs and sugar and things like that, because the common misconception is when you're pregnant, you're eating for two. While this is true, you're not eating for two adults. And we think, oh, I'm eating for two. I got to eat everything. Yeah, not two grown-ups. It's you and a baby. So it's just a little bit more extra calories, not a whole 1,200 calories. And I say that because that was my experience. My third, I gained like 70 pounds. Come up here, I'm eating for two. Then I got gestational diabetes because I gained too much. So, and that's another thing too. If you guys are moms, it helps with, as you grow your business and you work with clients, and as you grow your business and you hire people who work with clients, your own personal experience comes into play as you're working with these ladies. Because I have 4 kids and I've had different experiences, because I was married at 19, divorced and then married again, and I'm able to use my life experience to talk to these ladies. And the funny thing is, I always had to make sure they knew I was Black. I guess I'm Black because it made a difference for me. Because, it's almost like talking to a social worker, like you all up in my business. And no, no, let's relate, let's talk. So it was fun for me. I enjoyed it. So care plan development. Once you have your care plan done, addressing all the risk factors. Now we have goals associated to the risk factor. Like again, let's say she didn't graduate. She don't have a GED. She don't have a high school diploma. Well, one of the goals could be for her to get her GED or HSCD. And now the action steps of her doing that, I'm going to send her to this place here, 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 and make sure she go and sign up for her GED or HSCD. So then that's part of ongoing care coordination. So now I'm gonna refer her to places and then I'm gonna follow up. That's essentially all that we do. So that's why I say it's a good thing that you're not as familiar with PNCC because there were a lot of agencies that actually end up closing down or being investigated because they were doing it wrong. We're literally a company that refer and follow up. Refer and follow up. I do not have to give you diapers. I do not have to give you things for free. If you need help with something, I can refer you to the Women's Care Center. I can refer you to community advocates. I can refer you to all these different places, and then I follow up. That is our role. You need help getting your GED? This is how you do it. Go to this place here, talk to so and so. I'll follow up with you next week. Literally all that we do. So people were being extra and they started bribing, and we'll talk about that a little bit later towards the end, not today, but towards the end. That's where a lot of companies fell flat and got investigated and got closed is because they were doing what the state considers bribing. And that was part of their outreach. Outreach should not be bribing. It should not be if you come sign up with me, you'll get free diapers. If you come sign up with me, I'll give you $100 to go towards your bill. If you That's what companies were doing. Those companies are now shut down because that's not outreach, that's bribing. And they're very strict on that now to where you can either face jail time or a huge fine. So again, but we'll talk about referrals and stuff like that towards the end of the 30 days. And then the last piece for what we do, like I said, it's a five pillar program: health, education, and nutrition. Which is why there's a piece when we go over who is a qualified professional and what you need, who do you need to open. You need somebody who can teach health, education, and nutrition because that's a component of PNCC, making sure that it's a healthy pregnancy. So that's the medical piece. We don't really do medical piece, but that's a little medical piece that we do for PNCC. So, program goals, early identification, provide support services, continual care, education, and referrals. That's what we do. The goal is to improve birth outcomes among women who are at high risk for poor birth outcomes. Meaning, there are statistics out there that Milwaukee, it's either city or county, I think it's the city, has the highest birth rate. It's more. Not low birth weight, high infant mortality in Milwaukee compared to Wisconsin as a whole. So Milwaukee by itself has way more infant mortality deaths than Wisconsin as a whole. And so that's why it's important what we do by providing education, by providing resources to help mom have a stress-free pregnancy and also to help her advocate for herself, which is, we'll talk about doulas because, helping her with that piece is important too, because that's why like one of the risk factors is race. Because I didn't understand that when I first started. Like, why everybody but white people? Well, because if you're Indian or you're Hispanic or you're African American, there's more disparities there between black and white people, where black women have more infant deaths than white women because of their access and because of doctors listening to them. I even had that as my experience with my son, where I'm like in labor and I'm saying he's coming, and they're like, "Oh no, he not." Ma'am, he is my number four. Okay. I think I know what it feels like when the baby is coming. And they did not listen to me. And they basically caught my son as he was coming out like this. Like the lights wasn't on, nothing was ready because they did not listen to what I was saying because I'm another black woman, another black mom. And that happens to a lot of women in our community. So we help them advocate for themselves. So just some key terms: care coordination provider, that's you as a business. You're a provider that bills Medicaid for the services. A care coordinator is a person that you hire to provide the services. So you don't have to do the services yourself. It's a good idea if you're new to provide services to clients because one, it helps you get familiar with what your people are going to be doing that you hire. And two, it helps you with understanding billing when we get to that. Like, for example, if I have a care coordinator who billed an hour for a telephone call and they talked about da 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 da, and I'm like, based on my experience, either you're lying because that don't take that long or you're missing information. And so if you're missing information, I need a little bit more information as to why this appointment was an hour. And you know that because you have the experience of providing service. So I know that if you went and you did a care plan, that care plan should have only took 45 minutes based on how many goals she got. But if you're saying she had to stop and go change the diaper of the baby, or maybe the baby threw up, or a piece of cake, like something like that, okay, that makes sense, but that need to be in your notes. So if you start your own business, I highly suggest everybody become a care coordinator so that they can get familiar of what it feels like to provide the services. And then qualified professional, that's who you need, and we'll talk about that when it comes to like who you hire. That's next week, but you need a qualified professional on staff. Health education topics. These are some of the things that you touch on for health education, which is why you need somebody who can provide health education. As you can see, it's not that, that's why I say it's not that medical. Like this is our little medical piece with the health education. Alcohol prevention, safe practices, preparing for birth, substance abuse, stop smoking. And then even in stuff like this, I always give this example. When I first started, I had a mom who was pregnant and she was a smoker. Now I know that you shouldn't smoke while you're pregnant. She knew that she shouldn't smoke while she's pregnant. So I gave her, I can't remember the referral that I gave her, but it was like something, they have a program in Milwaukee. I can't remember what it's called. And so I gave her that resource and she didn't use it. She decided that she wanted to quit cold turkey. She's like, I don't need help. I'm gonna just stop. And I think she was like 6 months, 5 or 6 months pregnant or something like that. And she stopped smoking. About 2 weeks later, she had a miscarriage. What we found out is, and I didn't know this until I actually experienced that with her, you can't just quit something cold turkey because the baby has now become reliant on that thing. So like even if mom does drugs or drinks alcohol or she smokes or whatever, you have to wean the baby off. You can't just stop. And so because she did that, she ended up having a miscarriage. So you have to be careful with providing information on things you don't know for sure. So I'm glad that I was covered because I referred her to a place and I didn't tell her to do that. But it also reminded me, be careful of my advice because these are real people and real lives and real babies that are growing in this mom. So that's why they want somebody with the experience and education to be able to teach these things. Nutrition counseling, again, weight management, medical conditions like gestational diabetes. I might talk to mom about it from my experience, but I'm gonna still recommend her talk to her doctor. Weight management, when I gained 70 pounds from my daughter, when I had my son, I only gained 16 pounds. Why? Because I was working with nutritionists and I knew how to eat. So I can talk to her about that, my experience, but I'm gonna still refer her to a nutritionist, right? So you have to, again, be careful with what you give the mom because it's almost like a therapist. You have a certain level of responsibility to her. and also a certain level of authority. Like if I have a therapist and she tells me to do something, I'm probably going to do it based on because that's her profession and I respect her authority as the therapist. It's the same thing. If you tell mom that she shouldn't do this and she stopped because you said it and something happened, there's a form of responsibility. Now, you can't go to jail, probably, but you just have to be careful. I'm just saying, be careful with the type of advice that you give without proper education. We'll talk about this a little later, but just there are reimbursable services and non-reimbursable services. So I always give the example, and depending on when you met me, I gave it in some of my live webinars. I had a contractor who tried to bill for helping the mom plan her baby shower. That's not a covered service. So there are covered services and there are non-covered services. So you can't just do any and everything with the mom and bill. It has to be something that's covered. So as a part of being a business, if your person needs translation services, they're not going to pay you for hiring a translator. They're not going to pay you for if you miss an appointment. The middle two are gray areas, but I'll teach about that a little bit later because even though it says it's a non-reimbursable service, it also says that it is a reimbursable service. And you'll learn as you read the handbook, some of the areas contradict itself. And so this is why you need to learn the law too, as to why things are the way they are. Transportation is not a reimbursable service under PNCC. I actually just talked to my husband about this earlier. Now, while you can't get paid to provide transportation, if in the car, because I did this before, I took a client to court because she was, I think it was like a child support thing. I took her to court. I can't bill for driving her, but I can bill for the conversation if we're talking about our care plan. So it's all in how you word different things. I'm not billing you for the transportation. I'm billing you for the conversation that we had that was about her care plan. So now let's get down to business. Any questions? That was like a brief overview of PNCC. Any questions on that? Okay. Um, do you guys have your name yet of what you want to name your business? Um, let's see. And if you can't talk, you can put that in the chat.
Yeah, I'm gonna just pretty much stick with the daycare name and attach prenatal services to it.
Very smart. That's what I tell people. Very smart. You can do that. And so, what I want you guys to do, if you haven't done your LLC paperwork already, that's great. So actually, I'm working with somebody now. She went and filed LLC paperwork before she talked to me. And then after I talked to her, and I was like, I gave her some tips. She went and she had to do another LLC because she did the wrong name. And I was like, it's okay. It's okay. So, if you guys don't know, I own a kid spa, Pretty Princess, here in Georgia, and I always use that as an example. So when you go and you open this business, the first thing you do before you even do the LLC paperwork, if you haven't done it already, if you have, it's okay, is check that you can have your website, right? You don't have to build a website, but it's really good idea to get your domain. And you can go to GoDaddy and it's like $4 or $5 to get your domain for the year. And so you want to make sure that whatever that website is, that is one, easy to spell, so you don't want to use some of those words that like people get wrong, like receive. Even though that's a really easy word, is it like I before E or EI? Like that type of word where some people spell it wrong, even though it's a common word. And of course, that wouldn't be in your name. But that's just an example of common words that can be spelled wrong. So you want to make sure that you're careful with your spelling of different things for your handles. So with my kids spa, it's called Pretty Princess by JC Kids because we have a parent company, JC Kids, where we have other things under it eventually, but it's a part of JC Kids. So it's Pretty Princess by JC Kids. I would not make that my website. Because could you imagine me telling a parent, oh, you can go look at my website at prettyprincess.jckids.com. That is long as ever. Number two, how do you spell JC? Is that J and a C? Is that, you know what I mean? Like, so that would be one of those words. I know how we spell it, but they wouldn't probably know how to spell that. And so then our website, instead of it being the whole name, is Pretty Princess Kids. Easy. prettyprincesskids.com. So then they know how to find me. So if that's my website, www.prettyprincesskids.com, then I'm also going to go and look at social media. Can I use that? Because you want to be congruent. You want to make sure that it's all the same. Can I have that on Facebook? Can I have that on Instagram? Can I have that on YouTube? Can I have that as my email, right? And so all of my different handles on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest, Pretty Princess Kids, the at sign, Pretty Princess Kids, match my website. The same thing with my email, prettyprincesskids@gmail.com. So you want to, whatever you decide to, with your name, make sure that your handle and your website is all the same. It's easy to spell, and we'll talk about that in just a second, some other tips. But yeah. The third thing is making sure that it's available with the state. So, is there somebody else that has something very similar to that name already in use? Because you don't want to ever get confused, your customer to get confused with you in another business. So, make sure it's very distinguished. And then, lastly, trademarks. I have the story where Pretty Princess by JC Kids was not my original name. I've had my business since 20, I think I started in 2016. It was Pretty Princess Spa Boutique. Loved my name. And I want to say maybe 4 years, 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, I decided I wanted to trademark the name. After having it almost 10 years, I'm like, let me trademark my name because I know that I want to franchise it. I'm going to franchise it and have different locations all over the country, maybe even the world. I don't know. And so I know my step one is to trademark my name so nobody use it. So I go and I hire not a lawyer. What do you call the people who help the lawyer? Not their secretary, but their I forgot the name of it, but they do it anyway. So she did it for me. I can't think of what her position was called, but she did my,
It's a paralegal.
yes, thank you. Thank you. Paralegal, way cheaper than to go to a lawyer. If you get a paralegal, they can do that paperwork for you because when you go to a lawyer, the lawyer ain't doing it, the paralegal is. So she did my trademark for me. And the first thing that came up was it couldn't go through because there were so many other businesses called Pretty Princess with whatever. I think the one that was the biggest match was Little Princess Spa. Like, but I'm Pretty Princess Spa Boutique. But I couldn't do it because of Little Princess Spa. And she had opened up, I want to say maybe a year before I did. Because again, I've had mine since 2016. So I had to go and change everything. I had a brick and mortar. I was just about to have my sign put on the top. Thank God that they didn't finish the sign. I was like, wait, I gotta change my name. My I had different events at schools and everybody was getting to know Pretty Princess Spa Boutique. I had to go change everything. So now when I teach people, do a trademark search in the beginning. If you don't want to do nationwide, at the very minimum, do in the states, the Secretary of State, to make sure that nobody can come and say, I had this name first. I need you to cease and desist using this name because that's heartbreaking. A lot of us put our energy, our time, that's our baby. And I just knew my kids was gonna be just as upset as I was. Like, yo, we gotta change our name. And they're like, okay, what? That's our name. What do you mean? So do all of that in the beginning so you don't have to change it later on. Is the moral of the story. So business naming tips: choose easy spelling words.
What
Allow
was that that you was just on? Like, is it just was that just a Google or
say it again
like for us to search all of that?
for the trademark or just the Secretary of State.
Oh, just with the name and everything, or
So
just
you
this
can
only?
do that. Yep, you can do that on, let me see if it'll let me click. I'll try my best. Can y'all see the patent office? Can y'all see that? Because it switched over, but I don't know if it switched over, which y'all can see. Which
I
I
just
see.
see a little gray, like little screen,
Okay,
small.
yep.
Yeah.
All right, let me stop and share again.
Okay, yeah,
Trademark.
now.
Yep, trademarks. And then somewhere on here you can, because it's been a super
Oh,
long
the
time.
USPTO.
Yep, but you
Okay.
want to search the names here. So
Okay. All right,
trade.
I got that down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here you go. Search our trademark database. And so another thing, and this is for any type of bit, because a lot of us are we're serial entrepreneurs. Because I know y'all got childcare, but I'm pretty sure y'all got something else. I know y'all do. Because that's how we operate as entrepreneurs, right? We be doing the most. And so if you decide to like sell t-shirts or whatever, and if y'all ever need like ideas to like for your childcare to have multiple streams of income for your childcare, I'm really great at that with helping you come up with ideas, but that's neither here nor there. I say that to say that let's just say Little Princess Spa, if they were a clothing brand, I would have been fine because I was entertainment. So if somebody had the same name, but they're in a different industry, like Infinity Cars, and then you have Infinity Laundromat, and then you have Infinity Church, those are all different categories, and they can all operate with that name, and they can trademark their name. But if it's two Infinity Cars, you can't have that. It's too close to the first one. So that's important to know too. See, this is why questions are good because I don't think I ever t taught that in the workshop before because nobody ever asked that question. So we left off at allow for growth. So if you plan on with PNCC doing more prenatal care, then maybe you don't want that in your name. Maybe you do. It's up to you. Just make sure that your name don't limit your growth. Make sure you get your domain again. It's like $5. I even got my kids' domain with their names. I got my name as a domain because I knew that eventually I would be doing something, right? And so I went and grabbed these different domains. My daughter has a business, I set them all up so they have their names as domains so that nobody else can have it. Almost like with Beyonce and Blue Ivy. Blue Ivy was a baby and Beyonce went and tried to trademark her name. Like, can't nobody use this because at some point in her life, she's going to be using this for something, right? So grabbing that domain early doesn't hurt anything. You'll have it for a year for like, again, like $5. Make sure that it has a good meaning, that it conveys the meaning that you want it to. I had a really great example, but I forgot it, where somebody, as far as test how to pronounce it, because somebody, the spelling of it for their handle did not translate well. It said something else based on how all of the word or the letters came together, even though it was separated a certain way to be something, but all together it said something else. And so you want to be careful in your name that, say it out loud, that it sounds right. Make sure you get advice or feedback from your potential clients, colleagues, anybody outside of just you, because sometimes we think something is a dope idea, and then you'll get everybody to say, girl, no, because that's not what, yeah. Just really quickly, I like to go over the terminology when you go and do your LLC because for years I did not know what none of these things meant. When I went and would do an LLC, and it was like, are you a member or a manager? hmm Like I never knew. And so a member is a person who owns the interest. A manager is a person who runs the affairs. So they're not necessarily the owner. They just run the affairs of the business. Then you got managing member, registered agent. Most of the time you are your registered agent, but like for somebody like me, if I have my business in Wisconsin, I can't be the registered agent because I don't live there and I need somebody who lives there to be able to receive the legal paperwork. So for the most part, most people in their business, they're the registered agent. If you're not in that same state and probably even city, I don't know if city applies, you need to have a registered agent. Articles of organization, that's the LLC, operating agreement, really important to have, especially as if you guys ever do senior level. I teach you how to get your credentials as far as like women-owned business, small-owned business, like that stuff. You need an operating agreement to do that. And then annual report, you guys know because you got businesses that you have to renew your business every year. So that's the terminology. You guys really don't need to do this. But for anybody else, like this is where you go to, it's important to get your LLC first. I learned that the hard way. Now, it is not a requirement to have your LLC to apply and be approved. One thing for sure, though, that I've noticed since 2023, they are looking for real businesses. So if you want to present yourself as a real business, you want to have the LLC paperwork. When I started way back in 20, what was that 2015? Um, I've been an entrepreneur all my life. At 19, I did Avon, I did Melaleuca, I did Mary Kay, I did Beachbody, but I was always an independent contractor. So that's technically an entrepreneur, but I never had to do legal business paperwork. So when it came down to having this business, all I knew was to have an EIN. So what did I do? When I got an EIN, applied for a PNCC, got approved, worked, got my first paycheck, and it was to infinity. And I was like, how do I cash this? Because I can't take it to my personal. My name is not on it. So somebody told me that you gotta have a business bank account. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I go to the bank to open up this business bank account, and they say, where's your articles of organization? And I'm like, my what now? And I learned that you had to have an LLC to open up a bank account. Now, at that time, I was poor. I didn't have the money to go and get this LLC paperwork. I'm like, I have the check that's in the form of the money. I need this money to get the LLC. So I had to borrow money from my mom. And so now, again, most of the stuff that I teach people is from my own mistakes that I learned along the way. And if you guys ever get to the point where you want to teach people how to open up a childcare, you'll have so much information on don't do this because I did this. Like we learn a lot from our mistakes. And when we teach and or talk to people, we kind of teach from don't do it how I did it, which is how I was able to help some of my students get to six figures in 6 months because I did it before. I just taught them how to do it faster because I bumped my head learning how to do it. So LLC, EIN is super important, especially if you guys have to hire somebody to have a business email. Your business email is not prettyprincesskids@gmail.com. Now, while I do use that for my business because it's specifically for Pretty Princess, that is not a business email. Your business email is info@prettyprincesskids.com or admin@prettyprincesskids, like whatever you put in the front at yourwebsite.com, which is another reason why I say it's important to get a domain. Because if you have to go and hire somebody using Indeed, which is one of the ways I teach people how to go hire, Indeed only allows business emails. When you go and you start filling out your MOUs and things like that, it's easier to have everything under one roof, which is your business email. You want to have a business phone number, whether that is a Google Voice to start off because it's free and you can get that using Gmail. Whether I used to use Sideline, I think it's either Sidekick or Sideline, one of the two. But that was paid. So there's a lot of different services if you don't want to have like a whole nother phone that you can add to an app to your phone to receive phone calls. It's around the time you submit your application, it's a good idea to have a fax number. And so I always suggest people use eFax because that's how the state communicate. If they say, hey, you're missing something, or can you send this again? And they will do it. You will send everything and they will ask you to send it again. Why they do that, I don't know, but it's what they do. And so that's how you send things back and forth via fax. Getting your DUNS number, that's something like extra. You don't need that right away, but you want to start establishing your online presence with your domain, your email, having your social media pages, whether it's Facebook, Insta, like whichever platform you want to use. That's depending on who your audience is going to be. So like if you only want to do teen moms, You're probably not going to use Facebook because teens are not on Facebook. Where are they? They're on TikTok. So, depending on who you want your audience to be, will show you where you should be as far as social media. So, start building your presence. We'll get to the office piece in just a second. I think that's next, actually. It's not, but I'm going to talk about that. So, do you need an office? You do not need an office right away. If you can have an office, it's great to have an office, but if you don't want to have an extra expense, don't. If you have a childcare building, use that and have a little space in your facility that's specifically for PNCC because guess what? That's where your parents are going to be. So why would I have a childcare business and all the moms and kids are coming to my childcare business, but then she's pregnant? I say, oh, meet me all the way 12 miles south to come to my office for PNCC. Why would I do that? So if you can have like a separate space dedicated to PNCC in your childcare, why not? You can
Do
do
you know other people who have done that, like use their child care for the address?
absolutely.
Okay.
I help a lot of childcare owners open. Absolutely. When I started, my office was behind my couch in the living room. I literally had a little corner. I've had people that I help open that use the room in their house. It does not say anywhere in the handbook that you have to have an office, but again, they're looking for more official businesses. It just looks good to have a space. But if you don't, there's no pressure there either. So like even with having a family childcare and it's in your home, you can still use that, right? You can use that space. You can use a flex space, like a shared space. My friend, when she started, she used Regis. Um, you cannot run a business. Oh, well, that's probably for on the childcare side. I know several people who have, and they just use a space, a room, and they put their PNCC business in there. So I don't know if they I don't know that piece. So that's good to know. But yeah, I have several people who are open that has childcare and PNCC in the same spot. And it's group. It's a group facility. Yep. Um So business credit, none of these are like have tos in the beginning. It's just a good to have as you build your business for credibility. If you ever want to go get a loan, if you ever want to go any of those things, having of course, a business bank account, the EFAX, the DUNS number. If you have not listed your childcare in 411, it's good to put your childcare there because the more places you list your business, the more that helps with SEO. If you guys are not familiar with SEO, definitely get acquainted because that's how people find you without you having to find them. So if I was to look up childcare, because if you use great SEO, it's gonna pop up your name based on a keyword. So I would definitely say go and you look into that, but make sure you get your business on 411. And also claim your Google business page. If y'all have not claimed your Google business page for your childcare, go do that ASAP. ASAP. All right, we're coming to the end. I don't want to use this. I don't want to use that one. I want to use something else. Give me one second while I put up any questions. I'm just pulling up my form that I created. I think I just did a video. So I'm not going to go too deep into this because I literally just did a video on this. So make sure you go check out that video. It's in a school app. I'll make sure I clarify where it's at. All right, so we're talking about qualify. Let me zoom in. Now, this I know I can zoom in. So this is talking about who is a qualified professional. So if you're familiar with PNCC, you might have heard the rumor that you have to have a nurse. And that frustrates me so much because no, you do not. You need a qualified professional. That's who you need. And now this is what the state tells you who is a qualified professional. Any of these people here are considered a qualified professional. So, a nurse practitioner, a nurse midwife, a public health nurse, a physician assistant, a dietitian. But if you get a dietitian, they have to have at least 2 years of community health experience. You need, now, if you do get a registered nurse, because I've seen people deny it with a registered nurse because people think all I need is a registered nurse. No, the burden of proof on all of this is you. So this is why I stress the importance of resume. The registered nurse that you have has to have at least 2 years of experience in maternal nursing or community health services. If that's not clear on the resume, then you're going to get denied, even though you got a nurse. So another qualified professional is an employee with a bachelor's degree and 2 years of experience in a healthcare or family service program. So, what's a family service program? You could label your childcare a family service program depending on the type of services that you provide at childcare. Again, it's all in how you word it on your resume. Then the last person who's considered a qualified professional is a health educator with a master's degree in health education and at least 2 years of experience in community health services. So any of these people are qualified professionals. Now, if you yourself, if you're not a qualified professional, that's okay. Um, you have to hire somebody. So you have to hire a qualified professional if you are not a qualified professional. So we already established that you guys can open, you can be an owner, but you have to have a qualified professional staff. If that's not you, then you have to hire somebody. Okay. If you don't fall into any of these things here, if none of that is you, then you have to hire somebody that falls into one of these situations. Now, that's part A. Part B is now that you have a qualified professional, you need to have them do these three things. Now, it can be one person who does all three, it could be two different people, or it can be three different people. It's up to you and who you hire and their experience. But your qualified professional, you have to have at least one qualified professional that has at least 2 years of experience coordinating services for at-risk or low-income women and pregnant people. So remember, I said that at-risk is an important keyword on your resume. And if you're hiring somebody that's a qualified professional, that needs to be on their resume. Um, that qualified professional, you need to have a qualified professional that's going to agree to supervise risk assessments and ongoing care coordination. They have to, and I'm gonna show you how to do that towards the end because there's paperwork that I created that's going to show the state that this person agrees to do this. And then you have to have a qualified professional that can teach health education and do nutrition counseling with at least the education or at least 1 year of work experience necessary to provide these services. So even though you have somebody in part A that's a qualified professional, you can't forget part B. Does that make sense? I know that's a lot. I teach on this all the time because this is a make or break for you. It don't matter how great everything else is. If this ain't right, you're denied. Any questions on that? I'm gonna get to your Tiffany, your question in a second, but any questions on this? Okay. Okay. Um, I'll make sure again, there's a video, and actually I'll just show you in the classroom in the free PNCC mini course. I'm adding more videos now, but who can open a PNCC agency? I go over that in depth here. And then also what is PNCC is there too. How often so do you mean auditors? When you say how often do they come out?
I think she's talking about to do the assessment.
Clients?
Like your qualified professional who have to like sign off on the paperwork for the assessment.
Oh. Okay, sure. So for me, when I ran my company, I only hired qualified professionals because it's less paperwork. So in order for them to do care coordination, because remember the five components, they have to do the assessment, the care plan, and the ongoing coordination and health education, like all those pieces. That's your staff that does that. You can do it too, but if you're not a qualified professional, then you have to specifically have a qualified professional that sign off. How often they come in is up to you. So you can, if you're not a qualified professional and you hire people that are not qualified professionals, your one qualified professional that come in and sign off on risk assessments, you can have them come weekly, you can have them come monthly. Like that's up to you and that person when you hire them on how often you want them to fulfill that piece. Because that depends on how many care coordinators you have. If you have two, it's not going to take that much. But if you got two people and they got 50 clients, that's going to take a little bit more time because I got to look at every single one of these forms. So it depends on how many people you have, how many coordinators you have, to where maybe you start off and say, okay, once a month, come look at my paperwork and sign off. Or you got to come weekly, or you got to come 2 times a week. It just depends on the caseload of how many people you have. Yep. Um, all right. Let me go back. Now, I'm gonna also say that the replay will be up, but that piece will not be there. Because again, I can't like that's again paid for a resume. So if you guys, I'll make sure I put it on there. If you do want her to help you with your resume, but because that's a paid service, I can't share that and say copy this. I just like to show how in detail that resume was. And I think that's a really great resume. And I've come across some really bad resumes, like really bad. Do not give them a handwritten resume, please. Do not give them a resume that is printed and you screenshot it. Don't do that, please. Don't screenshot anything and have everything digital because everything when you submit your application, you're submitting it digitally. So don't print and scan. Don't do that, okay? Again, I've seen some really bad resumes. All right, so that is it for tonight. I know that was a lot. Do you have questions before we go over homework? It won't be as much teaching on PNC. Tonight was a little bit longer because I really want you guys to understand PNCC and what it is that you're applying to do. Um, I will in one of the sessions go over what does it look like the day in a life of a PNCC coordinator, because it's not a hard add-on to childcare. It's not. It's really actually easy. You're already meeting with the ladies. You just then have to change the conversation. And so I'll go over that more as the weeks come with how to implement this into your childcare. If you have employees, um, you can hire them to be your coordinators too. And so that also, I think I did that in some of my lives where it's smart because now you're giving them another form of income and they become more loyal to you because now they have two jobs, but not two locations, if that makes sense. As contractors, which we'll talk about next week, when you hire them, they're independent contractors, they're not employees. And so they have freedom in their time versus a 9 to 5. They have freedom in their time. So it's an easy add-on for them. And then also, as we go through, we'll do math and we'll talk about what does it look like how many clients get you to which we did. I think y'all was in the summit. I think, yeah. So we did that in the summit, right? Like it's not hard. It's not hard to do. So this is your homework. I'm gonna put that into the group because again, the whole point of this 30 days and every session that we come to is so that you guys take action every week so that by the end of the 30 days, you can either be ready to submit or close to it. Maybe you're just waiting for something. Most people end up waiting for that qualified professional. Because if you have to hire that person, that takes a little bit longer than a month unless you know somebody.
Yeah, I guess that's the part that's kind of like the once you get to the third portion of it, needing somebody for that specific part.
Mhm. Yep. So we're gonna, I believe that's next week where we talk about hiring.
Okay.
Because I want you guys to start looking into that early because again, that piece takes the longest trying to find somebody. And depending on your network, it's not a hard, depending on your network, it's sometimes not hard to find somebody. It's just putting that information out there and seeing like who do you know that is a dietitian? Who do you know that is a registered nurse? Because we got a lot of nurses, right? Who do you know? Because for me, I have a bachelor's degree in community education, but I had the family service programming. So I'm a qualified professional. So you might know somebody that's a social worker or that has a bachelor's degree and has that experience, right? So it's sometimes, not sometimes, looking in your network first to see who is there. And then if you can't find somebody, go to Indeed. So we'll talk about all of that next week. So this is your homework, getting your name finalized, EIN, all of that good stuff. And then if you guys can post in the group, my PNCC agency name is, my why is, like, why are you doing this? And then I just completed week 1 of the Application Academy. And I'm gonna put all of that inside the group.
Okay.
Any questions before we head off? It wasn't that bad. How long we been on here? We ain't been on here that long.
2 hours.
Listen, I used to do in my PNCC University, we used to, because I'm an hour ahead of y'all. So when you was like 7, I was like, dog, that's 8 for me. But okay, that's fine. I got you. I got you. We used to be on to like 11 p.m. y'all time, just talking. And my husband would be walking past like, I'm almost done. I'm almost. But we was meeting like every week because they were already up and running and meeting with clients and they had questions and things like that. So that's one thing that I make sure I'm very thorough. And then I give examples and my experience and, from helping people and myself running one. So the rest of the sessions won't be this long unless y'all ask a lot of questions. So.
Okay. So do you, one, I do have a question. Like, do you usually get people that get stuck on that part though, as far as if they find somebody who got a bachelor's degree and working out in the community, but then the third part of it is tricky?
Yep.
Okay.
That's the hardest part. But this is why I tell people to go to Indeed because it's just like any job looking to hire. Putting that job description out there and then have them come to you because they're looking for work. And so one thing that I realized in our community as business owners, and I don't know about y'all, and this is just speaking for myself, I never looked at myself like a real business. Ma'am, no. I'm sorry, my daughter trying to get an energy drink. 9:30 p.m. Okay, yeah, I didn't look at myself like a real business. I just knew how to do this thing and I was working with clients. And so I didn't think to go to Indeed to hire people. I just was like using my network. And so when you think about other real businesses, where do they go to hire? They go to Indeed. I don't know if Monsters is still a thing. They go to LinkedIn. They do an ad for hiring people. So it's still operating as a real business and getting those people to come to you. And then one thing I had to teach also to some of my ladies was a worker should never be uncomfortable to give you her social security number. Why? Because you're a real business. Like nobody's ever gonna go and get a job and say, no, you can't have my social security number. Because it's all in how you present yourself as this real business. So you guys are CEOs. I want you to look at yourself as a CEO, present yourself as a CEO, and that way it's not hard to find somebody because your business is really hiring somebody that is a professional. So, yeah, we'll really get more into that next week, but that is a place that stumps a lot of people. And sometimes I jump in if I need to. I do give sample job descriptions. I've I'm gonna say I did this, but I don't do this no more. Like I helped interview. I don't want to do that no more. But I did help interview certain people. I was like in on an interview, and I'm like, this is. But those actually were people that was in my actual university, which y'all know that's like $5,000. So I didn't mind at that. Like, yeah, I'll be in there with you. But that part is the hardest to get somebody in that spot. But yeah, we'll work it as a team, and by the
But
end.
they have to be in state though, right?
Yes. But I say it like that because um I have dual residency. You know what I mean? As far as I go back and forth from here to Milwaukee all the time. So what address would I use if I'm applying to a job in Milwaukee? I'm gonna use a Milwaukee address. I'm not gonna use my Georgia address, right? But if you have a person that needs a license, like a doctor or the registered nurse, they can't have a certificate in a different state, even if it's one of those states that has reciprocity. I think like Minnesota, where they can have a license in Minnesota, but they can still work in Wisconsin. They don't like that either. Even though the handbook don't say that, they don't like that. Yeah. Any other questions? Tiffany, you got a question. No. Are you reading? Or you're reading? One of the two. All right, ladies. Well, that is all that I have for tonight. We will be meeting again next Tuesday, same time. I'm gonna put your homework in there. Don't forget if you can, like, even if you just like a comment, just I'm trying to get more interaction in the school group.